Hey, soul family. There, make it dark so it's pretty back there for you. I'll wait a couple seconds to see, to let people get on. I had something happen seconds before I went live, which is interesting. Why is it that I can't, I'm trying to let some people know that I'm here. I said I was going to go live, and I've got people asking me questions. Are you there? Are you there? And I'm like, nope, not yet, but I am now. And now that I'm here, where's everybody? All right. Here's the deal. This is about being authentically, truthfully yourself. And it's easy to say that when you have support, when you have the support of other people. It's difficult to be the only one, you know, in an area, in a place, in your family. And Spirit has had me go in. They've always used me like a satellite. You know, they've taken me into places and dropped me, basically. You know, I got dropped into Wisconsin, into a little small town. And I was the only one that was outwardly like me there. And so I'm thinking about spiritual people who are the only one in their workplace, maybe. Maybe you're in a really high position, or maybe you're in a, I don't know, maybe you're in the, you're in an industry that it's very frowned upon to be spiritual. Well, apparently I'm in a family that it's very frowned upon to be spiritual. And so I've had a very strange relationship with my stepfather who raised me. And I've worked through a lot of it. And I thought I was really strong, actually. And I'm very outspoken, and I stand for what I believe in. And when I believe in something, it doesn't matter who you are. I stand up for it. And when Spirit asks me to do something, I do it. So I ran away from home when I was 17 because my stepdad beat me up. It wasn't what he thought he was doing. He was frustrated because I snuck out and I went to see a movie with my boyfriend. Actually, I was engaged to him, and I wasn't supposed to see him because my parents decided they wanted me with somebody else. So even though it was approved, they changed their mind, and I didn't. I still felt that way about that person. So I snuck out to the movies, and we went to a different town, even 2 towns away. And I got a funny feeling, and I looked back over my shoulder, and there was my mom sitting in the back of the theater. She'd followed me, and I thought, oh God. So we left, and my boyfriend was my best friend, and her, and a guy that she liked, which was a friend of my ex-husband's, which was the guy that I was there to see the movie with. She was spending the night at my house. And so anyway, the 4 of us, we went back to my house, and her parents were waiting. My father had called her parents, and she was in trouble, and he told me to go to my room, and he'd be there in a few minutes. And my ex left. You know, he's like, do you need anything? And I said, no, I'm okay. And I went into the house, and that was the scene. And so he came into my room, and my mother had been yelling at him. And, you know, if she was your daughter, you wouldn't allow this, and you would be, I guess she'd been on him the whole time, you know, yelling at him and stuff, and he just snapped. And so at 17 and a half, he spanked me. And he didn't spank me he beat me. And he held me by my arm. And so I couldn't get away. And he hit me and hit me and hit me and hit me. The pain was excruciating. And my mother stood in the doorway watching. It went on for a long time because he wanted to make me cry. He wanted to break me. And it was so unjust, so wrong, that I don't know, something came out inside of me, and I just thought, I am not going to drop a tear. And so I wouldn't cry. You couldn't break me. And it went on and on and on and on and on. And I tried to get away. I'd swing away, and I couldn't. And I looked over at my mom in the doorway, and she had this smile on her face like, I'll show you. And I thought, how could you stand there and watch this happen? How could you stand there? And I don't know how long he hit me. He was focused basically on what he could hit with while holding my arm. So I guess, he was holding one arm and hitting me on the opposite side of my body, which hit me basically from my hip down to the base, down to my knee. And finally, I don't know, he came to his senses, or I guess I don't know. I wasn't going to break, I guess. And he stopped, and he like, oh, and he walked out. And my mother just looked at me, and I slammed the door in her face. And I got out of my clothes, my dress clothes that I was wearing. I was wearing a cute outfit. I put on some jeans and a sweatshirt. And I grabbed my purse, and I left out the window. And I ran away from home. And my ex-boyfriend, he didn't know what to do. He was 4 years older than me, which would have made me underage, right? If my parents had wanted to say anything. We hadn't done anything. I'd never had sex. And I was scared, and he was scared, so he hid me up and down the coast for 3.5 weeks until he ran out of all of his savings. And then he said, I've got to work. I can't do this. The police were coming to the door, and he wouldn't give me up. He wouldn't say where I was. And so finally he sent me to his sister's in Colorado. And I stayed there for about 3 months. Arvada, Colorado, it's the only experience I've ever had. It was beautiful there. I worked while I was there. And then I was just so homesick. And he was going to marry me. We were going to get married, but then he got so scared, and he was broke now, and he just didn't know what to do. And he kept delaying coming out. And finally he said, I can't do this right now. And I said, what am I supposed to do? And he goes, I don't know. He says, but I can't do this right now. I'm broke. Everyone's all over me. I've got the police coming to my door. It was just on and on and on. And so I called my dad, and I said, I want to come home. And he said, are you over him? And I don't ever lie. And I said, no. And he said, then you can't come here. And I said, where am I supposed to go? And he said, you can go to your grandmother's. So I flew to my grandmother's. My grandmother sent for me. And while I was there, my grandma came into the room, and she said, Sherry, the phone's for you. And I thought, who'd be calling me? I don't know anybody up here. I haven't been here since I was a little girl. When I lived, before my mom and dad got married, I told you I spent most of my time at my grandma's house and in the forest with my cousins, and I had gifts when I was young. I spoke the language of the animals very fluently. But by the time my mom and dad got married, they married when I was 8. By the time I was 11 and a half, my language had been all but taken from me, except for one word, the word I called my dog. I didn't know at the time why it was happening, but Spirit knew that it wasn't going to be safe for me to have that language. So it was, I guess what you would call it is going to sleep. I went back to sleep. So I'm saying this all now. I've said it before, but it's telling me something that's going on with somebody connected to me. Anyway, so I was the best Jehovah's Witness little girl that you ever would meet. And I was devout, and I always wanted a father. I never had a father. Everyone else had one. And so when this man married us, I said I would do anything. He wanted me to be a Jehovah's Witness girl. I was the best there was. I was so loyal. I was so devout. I went out on the street corner. I knocked on doors by myself when I was 8 years old. And I never had sex with anyone. I wasn't allowed to have any association with anyone that wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. I wasn't allowed to participate in anything in school. And I defended it because it's what I was raised to understand and believe. I didn't mean for this to be a sad reading, and I find it so strange that nobody's watching, that I can see. Maybe I just can't see you. I don't know. But, oh, wow. Maybe the post isn't live because I said I was going to do... I wonder, and I don't have any internet here, so I can't tell. It might be just a private reading. How strange. I think I'm going to have to come back on.